The desert sun was merciless that afternoon, burning the endless sand with a ruthless intensity that made the air shimmer like fire. Heat waves danced across the empty road where no car had passed for hours. In the middle of that lonely desert highway lay a young woman, barely conscious, her clothes torn and dusty, her lips cracked from thirst. Her name was Emily Carter. Only a few hours earlier, her life had been completely different. She had trusted the wrong people, people who had promised to help her start a new job in a nearby town. Instead, they robbed her, took her phone and money, and left her in the middle of nowhere to die under the scorching sun. Every breath she took felt heavier than the last. Her vision blurred as she tried to crawl toward a small patch of shade near a rock, but her body refused to move. She whispered weakly, "Please, someone help me," but the desert swallowed her voice. Just when it seemed like hope had completely disappeared, the distant sound of hooves echoed across the sand. A tall cowboy rode slowly across the desert trail, his horse kicking up small clouds of dust. His name was Daniel Hayes. From a distance, he noticed something unusual lying near the roadside. At first, he thought it might be an abandoned bag or debris. But as he rode closer, his eyes widened in shock. It was a woman, barely alive. Without wasting a second, he jumped down from his horse and rushed toward her. "Hey! Can you hear me?" he said urgently, gently lifting her head and pouring a small amount of water from his flask onto her lips. Emily coughed weakly as the cool water touched her mouth. Her eyelids fluttered open just enough to see the silhouette of a man wearing a wide cowboy hat blocking the harsh sunlight. She whispered, "I thought I was going to die." Daniel's voice softened. "Not today. You're safe now." Carefully, he lifted her onto his horse and wrapped his jacket around her fragile shoulders. The nearest town was nearly 30 miles away, but Daniel knew a small ranch nearby where he could take her first. The ride was long and quiet. Emily drifted in and out of consciousness as the rhythmic sound of the horses' hooves echoed across the desert. When they finally arrived at the ranch, Daniel carried her inside as if she weighed nothing. The small wooden house smelled of fresh coffee and desert herbs. He laid her gently on a bed and called the local doctor. For the next 2 days, Emily barely woke up. Daniel stayed nearby the entire time, checking on her, bringing water, and making sure she was safe. When Emily finally regained full consciousness, soft morning sunlight was streaming through the window. She looked around the unfamiliar room nervously until Daniel walked in holding a cup of tea. "Good morning," he said with a warm smile. "Looks like you're finally back with us." Emily sat up slowly, confused. "You saved me." Daniel nodded casually. "Just happened to pass by." She stared at him for a moment, overwhelmed with emotion. Tears filled her eyes. "You don't understand, if you hadn't come, I would be dead." Daniel shrugged slightly, clearly uncomfortable with praise. Everyone deserves a second chance. Over the next few days, Emily recovered at the ranch. She helped with small chores and spent long evenings talking with Daniel on the wooden porch while the sun set over the golden desert hills. He seemed like a simple cowboy, quiet, kind, and humble. But there was something about him that didn't quite match the image. His confidence, the way people in town greeted him with respect, and the expensive truck parked behind the barn hinted at a different story. One evening, curiosity finally got the better of her. "Daniel," she asked softly, "how long have you owned this ranch?" Daniel chuckled. "Technically, I don't just own this ranch." Emily tilted her head in confusion. Daniel took a sip of his coffee before speaking calmly. "My family owns most of the land around here. The ranches, the oil fields, the cattle businesses." Emily blinked in shock. "Wait, are you saying?" Daniel smiled. "Yeah. I guess you could say I'm a millionaire." Emily stared at him in disbelief. The quiet cowboy who rescued her from the desert wasn't just a rancher, he was one of the wealthiest men in the entire region. Seeing her stunned expression, Daniel laughed lightly. "I usually don't tell people. Life's easier when they just think I'm a regular cowboy." Emily shook her head slowly, amazed. "You saved my life, and you didn't even tell me who you really were." Daniel looked out at the glowing desert horizon. "Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that you're alive." In that moment, Emily realized something powerful. The man sitting beside her wasn't defined by his wealth, but by his heart. The desert had almost taken her life, but it had also led her to someone who would change it forever. And sometimes, the greatest miracles arrive when hope feels completely lost. If this incredible story touched your heart and you want to hear more life-changing stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join our growing family. Because the next story might inspire you even more than this one.